Hi everyone, it's Justin here, Voices for Voices. Thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first episode, welcome. If you have been with us from the beginning or caught other episodes, welcome back. We want to welcome our new viewers and listeners from the state of Ohio, as well as the United States and over 120 countries and territories across the world and close to 2,000 cities across the world as well. If you can do us a quick favor that's free, give us a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, share, reshare, repost, and maybe even reach into your phone and let maybe 20, 25 contacts know about the Voices for Voices podcast and TV show because you're what makes the show go. You are downloading and watching and listening, and we've had record-setting months. The last 6 months, we've had, I think, three months that we have had downloads far and above what we've had since we started this. So somebody's watching and listening. We are grateful, no matter who you are, where you're from, to have you join us and join the Voices for Voices family. Uh, our organization and our show is for everyone. So uh, it's meant, as you'll hear and see from our guests, that you're not alone, that you're not the only one that's gone through some difficult times, and you're also going to hear inspiration of coming out on the other side and speaking out. And we want to have our biggest goal to reach and help 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. Can't do this without you. So, welcome to everyone who is with us for this episode. Today's guest, we're very excited to have with us. She is the founder of Second Chance Ministries. She is Jeanette Bradley. She does a whole lot of things. She's an author, a speaker, an urban missionary, an advocate, an abolitionist. She has awards such as Shine Your Light in 2017 from Stories Behind Their Eyes to the Outstanding Service Award from Judge Paul Herbert and the Ohio Liberator surviving Survivor of the Year for 2016 for her continued fight against human trafficking. And that's what we're here to talk about today, as well as she has a book and she's going to share all that good stuff as we get closer to the end. Jeanette Bradley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I don't know, maybe it might be easier as far as the flow, maybe start from the beginning, the difficult times and experiences you had, and then we can just go through that and end on that the high points of what you're doing with your ministry, your book, how people can learn more about you. So the floor is yours, and
Okay, well, thank you, Justin, for inviting me to be on your show. Uh, Anytime I can give a word out about human trafficking and warn people, it's that's my number one passion. So I thought I had a normal life until I was 5, and there was incest from a family member till I was 7, to both my sisters as well. I was the baby. And then it stopped, and then it started again at 12 with a different family member. And that went on for several years. And unfortunately, my mom didn't believe us at the time. So it made it pretty rough to not have that comfort, that nurturing protection that you need. So that kind of started to set my life on a very bad journey because I was just looking for love in all the wrong places. And I found it, but it wasn't real love. So yeah. So in high school, I mean, I started drinking when I was 12. I started smoking when I was 12 just to cope. And I didn't even know what was really happening. I just felt totally alone. But so I got married at 17 to get out of the house. And that was a pretty rough marriage. And I'd been married several times, but every time it was just never the right guy. But I do have two wonderful sons out of it. So I'm very thankful to God for that. They're wonderful men. And let's see, then I was on my own for a little bit, but that didn't last long. And worked many different jobs over the years. Um, became an alcoholic, became a drug addict, became homeless. Um, and I met a guy in a bar one night when I was a full blown alcoholic and was starting my drug addiction. And it turns out he was just throwing money all over the bar, and that attracted me. And he was handsome, so we started dating immediately. And he was just taking me places, buying me things, just being real good to me. That's what a Romeo pimp does. When they lure you in, that's what they call them because they will treat you like a queen for however many months they want to do it. And then they turn into gorilla pimps, they call them, because they will force you to do whatever they say. And if you don't do it, you're going to get beat. You know, I've been put in the hospital several times and broken bones and things. And the trauma that it just seems to pile on and on and on and on in your life if you don't get counseling, if you can't talk to someone. Um, you just, you lose yourself in it all, you know. And I think one of my worst fears was dying before I learned how to live because it was just totally survival all the way. And, you know, it was scary a lot of times, especially when I was approaching 29 years old. And I met the guy at the bar. And like I said, we dated and everything. And then he started breaking the number one rule of dealers to get high on your own supply. So we both did a lot of crack. And I'm talking about $1,000 a day crack. And eventually, of course, he ran out of money. So he started throwing me in on the deal. He might have some money towards it. And then for the rest of it, he just threw me in on the deal to cover it. And that went on for quite a while. And he would just leave me wherever I was at, whatever city, whatever state. You know, we went into Sandusky, Ohio. We went down to Texas. We went into Mexico. And that was a very, really scary time for me because I didn't know the tradition is, you know, the men are in the backyard doing whatever, drinking and talking and all that. And the women are not allowed to come out when the men are there. So we showed up and there's me and like 10, 12 men. I didn't know. And so you can kind of fill in the blanks there. But it was just very scary for me because I didn't know, was I ever going to come back? You know, was I ever coming back home to Ohio or not? But we did. And then another girl had come into the picture after 3 years of this. And so I was able to get away. I came back to Columbus, but I also tried to like hide under the radar. I worked a job that had a bar in the basement of that, not the basement, but they just had an outside entrance to a bar they built downstairs. Now you wouldn't think anybody could find you there, and but he found me. I looked up one night, he was there, and I just told my boss I had to go. No, you can't go, and I said yes. You don't understand. So, anyways, that kept going on and on too. He would just show up just wherever. He even found out where I lived, and I sure didn't tell him. And I knew what I had to do. I had to go get him the drugs. I had to do whatever he said, and it was just the nightmare continued. And then one day, he just quit coming. And I mean, he'd show up at midnight, at 3 or 4 in the morning, just whenever, you know. And I knew what the deal was. So it got really bad one time. He'd throw me down a flight of stairs, and I have a plate in my head from a brain tumor I had in 1980. So they told me to be careful, don't get hit in the head. Well, it had to be God. I didn't know him at the time, but he saved my life. And I was so out of it, I actually kicked the wall Instead of going right out the front door, I must have been delirious. And I kept kicking on the wall until I broke through into the next place, and it was a restaurant. And I shoved the cigarette machine away and everything, and I couldn't get out the front door. I took a fire extinguisher and tried to break the plate glass window, and it wouldn't break. So finally, I went to the back door and I got out. So, like I said, I had to be delirious because I didn't know what I was doing. Then I remember walking down the main street. This was a small town in northern Ohio. And I was walking down the main street and saw a bridge. So I went and got on the bridge, and I was done. I was just going to jump. And a police cruiser had went by. So he stops and he's talking to me. I didn't realize he was getting my attention while the other one came behind me, and he pulled me off the wall because I was definitely going to jump. And I tried suicide since I was 12, and it never worked. I don't know why. I had to be God back then too. So that was kind of just my attitude in life. I wasn't trying to give up, but I was just kind of left. I don't know. I know there's got to be some listeners, some other people, and people that that have been in these kind of situations, either with violent boyfriends or just bad relationships, or you've been suicidal, depressed, things like that. You can't give up because there's people out there that need you and need your voice. And I never ever thought God, well, I did believe in him because I thought, well, he wouldn't allow these things to happen. You know, I was gang raped at 15 after the trial with my dad, and he got off. So I was gang raped and by a motorcycle gang, and they left me in the ditch in the woods. Now, you wouldn't think, how could somebody find you? But my ex-boyfriend, his friend, it was a small town, so he heard that I went on a ride. So he went out there because he thought that's who it was, and he was right. But his headlight shined on me in that ditch, and that's what saved my life. And I, it was just so amazing to know that well, first of all, that someone cared, and that I was rescued because I was totally out of it. I don't remember it, but I woke up in a straitjacket in the hospital at 15, and it wasn't a very, I don't know. I kind of wish I hadn't made it, but I thought, well, I guess there's some reason I'm still here. But anyway, so I made all those wrong choices in life and kept drinking more and drugs more, and all that does is numb you for a minute. It is no relief. It is no answer. It's no solution to the problem. You're going to wake up the next day either broke, busted, and disgusted, and maybe not even know where you're at, you know, and that's dangerous too. So, anyways, when after I'd left him and he quit coming, I got on the streets because I was so bad with drugs. I had to figure out how I'm going to get money. I couldn't even work at the time, so I started walking the streets and prostituting. Which, my family was middle class. I didn't never thought of that, but that would happen. But so I'd done that for a while, and I'll never forget, it was January 4th, 1994. I'd been out on the streets for a long time and sleeping in doorways of churches, but I didn't know God, so no sense of knocking. And sleeping between a building and a dumpster, just trying to stay warm. And so the dope boys decided, though, you can come stay in the crack house. So I went to the crack house, and I thought, well, now I can get warm and get rest, and that was never going to happen. So I would crawl up into a corner to sleep without a pillow, a blanket, anything, when they would allow you to sleep. And if they told you to go in there, do something or whatever, their no was not in their vocabulary. So I had to do whatever they said. And it was very, very traumatizing because you don't get the rest you need. Sometimes they'll give you dope to help you cope, and sometimes they won't. So a lot of things you're going through, you feel that humiliation and that fear and all that, but you can't do anything about it. And there was no way of escape. And I remember one time they took me over to it was like a Speedway gas station where they had the hot dogs and things back there.
Mm-hmm.
So they had me keep the cashier busy. They went back, two of them, went back to the, and started stuffing hot dogs down and eating them and, just having a good old time. About 15 minutes later, they walked past me back out the door, which meant I had to leave. And I still didn't get any food.
Mm.
I was able, I guess, I know it had to be with the grace of God, but I could take a can of chili and make it last me a week. Just get the top off and eat. You just couldn't take a couple bites, put it away, and you know. But God really, he was there, and I didn't know it. Still cussing him out for it, and so finally the crack house they were getting evicted, and I ended up finally being able to get my mom to call my sister, who was always good to me and always nice. She was the one that was with me when the incest started at 12, and she was 14. So she said, just find a place to stay. And her husband, thank God, he worked on the same side of town. So I went down there, stayed with them, and it was the most amazing thing because they live off of this winding road back in these beautiful A-frame place. And it was January 4th. So all the snow and all these trees, they were just laden with snow, all the branches. So it looked like you were going through a tunnel. And I thought it was pretty, but it was just the most amazing thing. As soon as I started going through it, it almost took my breath away, and I felt like I was high,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't. But so then we got to the house, and when I walked in the house, it was the same feeling. I
Mm.
didn't know what it was, but later God had told me that I was entering into His peace, and I never had peace. I don't even remember when, but so we walked in the house and talked and everything. They went to bed. I went to bed, but I came back upstairs and just opened their cabinet doors and sat there and looked at the food because when you don't get to eat very often. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, they have four kinds of cookies and look at all that cereal, just weird things. And so then I went back to bed. And when I got up the next morning, my sister had asked me after we ate breakfast, so do you want to give your heart to Jesus? And now they tried for 10 years to get me to turn to him, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And I immediately said yes. So it must have been the appointed time that he talks about in his word. So we said the salvation prayer, and we came back over, and she said, "Look at this calendar on the kitchen table." And I looked at it, and it was John 16:20. I will turn your sorrow into joy, and he has done that every day since, even the bad times. I'm still alive. I'm still blessed. I'm not sleeping outside or getting raped anymore. It was just. It's just he has turned my sorrow into joy and continues, and I'm 73 now, so it's just been he saved my life. So
Mm.
he had me write my book, and um, I was going to this group called Catch Court in Columbus, Ohio. The Catch stands for Changing Actions to Change Habits. You have to have a current prostitution charge to get into the program, but it's a 2-year program with the courts. You go every week, and you get counseling, and you get support, and you can air your grievances or give praise reports and stuff. So I became the Catch mom. I would always give them just encouraging things, different messages from different pastors or quotes or whatever it is, and they would look at me kind of funny, and I'd say, well, if a farmer wants corn, he has to plant the seed in the ground. So these are seeds of faith and seeds of love because God loves you so much that you're here today. And many of your friends, my friends, all from my past are gone. So, it was really a neat thing to do. I did that for quite a while and um, wrote my book, started speaking, even went on 2 church mission trips and did a PSA for the Czech Republic. Um, the one eye openers when we went back the second time and we did the red light district. And it's illegal. Prostitution is illegal there, but they have 850 brothels. I looked it up before I go. I like to do that, and I found out it's all run by the Russian mom.
Mm.
So and they don't even know they're being trafficked. We talked and everything, and they asked me what they could do. But before I say that, I wanted to say they had girls in the windows and
Mm.
red lights around the windows. And I'll never forget this one young girl, and I don't think she could have been 20. She had a little dog in her lap, and she could hardly make eye contact. And I had a translator, so he was translating to her. And when I was just telling her, I came from where you're at, you could see a little light come on in her, and then she would look at me because we were on common ground. So it doesn't matter the distance. It doesn't matter if, like, I had a translator, but the worst part was having to leave her. I mean, here I can give them my card or give them resources to go to and stuff, but there I couldn't. But I was able to pray for them all, so I was happy about that. And I'll tell you another interesting fact. Down at the corner of the street, before you headed up the red light district, they had men that were, uh, trying to, like carnival barkers, trying to get you to come in and see the fat lady or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to get you to come up the street into the brothels and stuff. And they were being trafficked because they were promised, a good job, an education, all kinds of things. Like, that's how they do it. Nannies and babysitters and college and all those kind of things. That's how they traffic them from overseas. So I was pretty sad because a lot of these guys you could see they were even broken. So, but anyway, so I just continued to speak and everything, and God got a hold of me in 2009, and well, in '94, but in 2009 He actually ordained me an evangelist, which it really changed my heart because I'm like, wow. I mean, you just don't ever think you're amount to anything. That's all you were told. And, you know, it really is true. He will give you beauty for ashes, joy instead of mourning. He's just so phenomenal, and his love is pure, and you just don't ever give up on him. Anybody listening, please give your heart to God. I'm telling you, I didn't believe in him either, but he's turned my life around, and now I've had a street ministry for almost 24 years now called Second Chance. And
Mm-hmm.
we do the streets down in Columbus in the really rough areas, the hood they call it. And the street I do it on is considered the worst street in Columbus for trafficking, because the gangs are trafficking them down there, and they really don't care. You're just a dollar sign. I see them out there in the winter, and they've got just a little, maybe a hoodie on if they're lucky. Sometimes not even that, just a sweatshirt. You just have to make that quota. You can't come back till you do, or you're going to get beat.
Yeah.
So we definitely need stronger laws
Mm-hmm.
to punish the traffickers. We need definitely more resources for the women too, because they are broken, they're invisible, and they're so traumatized they don't even know what they need. But we know they need recovery. Some of them are out of recovery, but they still don't have a safe place to go. And
Yeah.
that's what they really need. So I pray that people would open their eyes, and they would see that, at least pray for people. If you can't do anything, if you can, give to your local, you can Google human trafficking in your zip code, because there's no zip code in the United States that doesn't have traffickers and trafficking victims. And you can find an organization and pray about it, who you want to give to, who's doing the really good stuff. I mean, I'm out in the trenches all the time, and most of the time, well, I won't say most of the time, but probably a third of the time I've been by myself.
Yeah.
People don't want to get out there, and it's like, I can't not go, because
Mm-hmm.
once you get down there, I've had a few that are helping me now that they were just absolutely shocked. It's a culture shock. You see a girl wear size 0, and she's got fentanyl face, they call it, where they get scabs all over their face. They're beaten. I mean, you can see the brokenness. But, the more I start talking and telling them, hey, I see where you're at, but you do have a way out. And some I've actually taken to the safe houses or drop-in centers, but most
Mm-hmm.
of them are too afraid to leave because they'll threaten them. I know where grandma lives, or I know which way your little brother walks to school. So, We just need to come together and help these people, because as long as they don't see them as victims, they're going to think, no, they chose that life. Well, nobody gets chose to be raped, to get no sleep, or to even eat, to just be totally humiliated and empty. Nobody asked for that kind of life, you know? So I just truly hope and I believe that it's going to get better. I have to believe that.
Absolutely. And I like on your Second Chance Ministries, for those watching and listening, that is the number two NDCHANCE dash Ministries, which is spelled MINISTRIES.org. That's where you'll find Jeanette's uh, mission work, her minister work, and she has under her urban missionary section Proverbs 31, 8 to 9, which is quoted as speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, ensure justice for those who are perishing. Yes, speak up for the poor and helpless, and see they get justice, end quote. Um, it can't be any truer for what you're doing, and it's really it's just amazing. I mean, you're giving a voice to those that have one that might not know how and where, and then there's unfortunately, those individuals who have passed before us who, like you said, there's just there's life to live, even though it might not seem like it. It might seem like, well, there's nothing for me to do. Uh, how do you how do you feel when you do that ministry or work, when you go to those foreign countries, when you go down to those streets, when you're ministering and sharing and talking to, how does that make you feel? Because I think some listeners and viewers might say the same thing that most people would say, like, well, I'm not going down there. I'm going to be a bystander. I'm going to, somebody else can do that. That's not for me. But you're an upstander, so you're going in and you're doing it, and you're like, this is what I'm here to do, and so I'm going to continue to do that. I know it's kind of a loaded question, so pick whichever part.
I get it. Well, I wish someone had been there for me. I mean, we give out clothes, we give out food. The first thing I give them is hot food, because I know. And one of the girls we just served a couple weeks ago, she had five gang members around her, and she was white. They were black. And I'm not racist at all. I love everyone. But when they finally allowed her, I had to go around the block and come back and ask to speak to her. And at first they were really mocking me, and I just said, please let me speak to her. As soon as she came over, she looked like she had been up for days. And I said, would you like a hamburger? She goes, oh, yeah, I haven't eaten in 2 days. And I said, I know, I know. So I see myself in them a lot. I know exactly what they're going through, and I know what they'll end up happening to them if they don't obey. You just can't say no to anything. And but I'm so thankful that God would think of using me and giving me the honor of seeing these broken, invisible, empty women. Because, as I said, a lot of people, even today, and I've been in this since 2007 with helping against anti-trafficking, and they'll just say, "Oh, they asked for it," just like the homeless men. They're all drunks, and I'm like, "No, I didn't ask for it. No woman would ever choose to have that, the rape and the beatings and all that happen to you." And, if they can't, the legal definition is threat, fraud, or coercion, for profit. And that's exactly how you have to live. and they do all kinds of humiliating things to break you, to be submissive. And some of them are the animals, to tell you the truth. I won't go into any more.
Mm.
And a room full of the traffickers for an audience. And it people just don't understand. This is the number one human rights violation to me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's labor trafficking, there's child brides, there's boy soldiers. There's all kinds, and they're white collar too. I mean, there's judges that have been busted for using these girls. They came over thinking they were going to be a nanny, but they make them do everything. Like they work 20 hours a day, sleep for 4 or 5, get back up and do everything all over again. But um, I see myself in them, and I won't give up as long as God allows me to do it. If I have to get out in a wheelchair, I'll do it. There's just
Yeah.
not a lot of people out there, just because they don't see them as victims. Even the men, there's a reason that there's a reason that they're in that spot. Something made them a drunk, or something made them homeless. Something made the girls have zero self-esteem, zero worth. That's what I look at. What made you this way? Because just because life made you that way, or the labels, that's not true. You don't have to live by your past, or what the labels somebody put on you. I've had more labels put on me than a box sent to China. I'm telling you.
Mm.
But I refuse. I just refuse, because I know, now that I know God, there's always a way out. All you have to do, and I tell them, the strongest prayer you can pray is, help me, Jesus. Because a lot of them don't know God, or if they do, they've kind of don't believe in him anymore. But you won't believe how many that will give their hearts to the Lord. They want it, but I'm hoping and praying that somebody else will come along too, or me, to disciple them, put them in these safe houses, let us minister to them and love on them. You know, you can't stay in a war zone and the war not get in you.
Mm.
So, I'm just very thankful to do this, and I'm praying to do more. I'm just not sure what yet, but we'll see. But, I'm still grassroots after 24 years.
Mhm.
So people won't believe what I could do with a $20 bill. I can buy almost 20 pairs of socks. So, I live by donations and a prayer, you know,
Mm.
and God has always, always provided. So I know I'm meant to do this. And when you first contacted me,
Mhm.
and I always say I'm a voice for those who have none. And when you told me yours was voices for voices,
Mhm.
I knew right then. I felt it from God.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, you have to help this young man. Not help you, but
Yeah.
just help, maybe validate you more with the stories you tell. Because I'm so thankful and so honored that you asked me, because this could save lives. This could be speaking to someone's heart right now, especially if it's a girl that maybe she planned on killing herself and now maybe she won't, you know? So I don't know, but I'm just never going to give up.
Yeah. And that's the thing that, helping one person step off of that ledge, uh,
Mhm.
like where you were at, that feeling. Um, we want to help as many people as possible, but if we can save one life, one person from making that decision,
Yes.
and somehow, some way, uh, there's a lot of good people out there, and we just hope and pray that uh, the right people do like the work and the ministry that you do at the Second Chance, and uh, just the heart that you have for giving and sharing is is huge, and it shouldn't be underestimated what a human can do. Uh, some
Right.
people might say, after all you've been through, how, does that give you more trauma when you get into those situations? But it sounds like it doesn't. That it kind of feels a spot, like your spirit and your soul when you're doing that work.
Yeah, God's given me such a compassion, and that's a gift from God because I've met people that have no compassion. And I thank you for your compassion. And it's like it's not like you don't have a choice. I don't mean it that way, but that's just my calling,
Yeah,
to do that, you know. So, and it doesn't matter where you're at, where you started. It's how you finish, And do I have a minute to tell you another quick little story?
yeah,
Okay. Have you heard of Corrie Ten Boom?
yes.
Okay, a lot of people have. Her and her sister was put into concentration camps. For those that don't know, and so they were in the one of the I don't know what you call it, cabins or hooches, whatever they're called. But so they kept, a lot of these women prisoners, just like 50 in one of those little houses, and so they kept having all these fleas, and they were just being tormented because they had so many fleas they couldn't even sleep or anything. But then Corrie started putting it together, and she heard screams coming from the different buildings because of what was happening to the women. But they didn't come and bother their room or their house because of the fleas. So that actually, it protected them. You know, it was amazing when I read that. And then they were set to be executed,
Mm,
but they had, they would drew names somehow. I don't remember how the story went, but they drew names, or numbers, and so they would, if they drew your number, you could leave. Well, they got Corey's mixed up with somebody else's, um, but her number came up, and
yeah,
her sister's didn't. She had to leave her behind, but she left. But I say all that to say, God knows who is going to not be ashamed of the gospel. She's written many books. The Hiding Place is a very good book to read by her. It's about, you know, your lowest low and then overcoming it all. And I mean, she went to country. She was an outspoken speaker and author, and just she was a big inspiration for me. Big, So it doesn't matter where you're at if you have nothing. You can be sitting in a crack house right now, or sitting in the trafficker's place, but it doesn't mean it's the end. You just
mhm.
hold on, hold on. There'll be a way to get away. You just start praying to Jesus. Help me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus. He'll hear you the first time. Just don't give up.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for sharing that. I'm glad you did. I want to show our viewers and our listeners. I'll just tell the book that the first book that Jeanette Bradley has written is titled "I'm Still Standing." And so for our viewers, you're able to see the front cover, and then here's the back cover, and you can kind of get an idea uh, of Jeanette, as well as what is included in the book. Can you talk how the book oh, and it's for sale on Amazon, is that correct?
Yes, or you can go on my website,
Okay.
and yeah, you can go on my website and I'll send you one. I can send you a signed one if you'd like.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I'll shoot, get you that information after the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd love that. That's
Yeah,
so kind. So yeah, what got you to the point where you wanted to write a book? Because some people look at it as it's just a lot of work, and who's going to read it, and
right.
but it actually has a lot of meaning, and it actually does help a lot of people, which is the powerful thing.
Yes. Well, I mean, I always wrote poems. I don't know why, and that's really kind of a common line between us. Anyone that's been through a lot of trauma, all the survivors that I knew. You know, they wrote poems. The ones that went into catch court, the active, prostitutes wrote.
Mhm.
You know, But God asked me to write it. And my sister Debbie, like I said, we were
Hmm.
together when it started as a teen, and she was dying of cancer
Oh,
in 2012. She died actually uh, Good Friday, or no, I'm sorry, Palm Sunday in 2012. But it took several years, and towards the end, that's when God started telling me to write my book, and I'm just like, what? That was the last thing but he helped me through it. I mean, I didn't even know how to go about it, but I had ended up, I won't go through the whole story, but I ended up going to college, and I was the first one in my entire bloodline that ever went to college. And so I had this one professor. She was, I was, oh, sociology, I think. I can't remember, but she ended up
mm,
being a very good friend of mine. And she knew another lady, it was her good friend, that had written many books. So we would get together and they would do jewelry parties or whatever they would do, and they would always donate the money to me. And so when I mentioned that I would like to, God's calling me to write a book, she said, "Well, you just let me know and I'll help you." She was self-published hers, so it's what I ended
mm,
up doing. But another story was in Kedge Court. I was sitting there one day, and I'd met this lady about 3 or 4 times, and she was real nice. And I just asked her, I knew she was a strong Christian, and I just said, "Well, will you please pray? Because I'm feeling God wants me to write a book." And I found out it's like $1,500, to do it.
mm.
And she said, "I sure will." And then as we were getting ready to leave, she goes, "You let me know when it's time." She goes, "We're going to pay for it."
Oh,
It blew my mind. It was God all the way. Because then the author, she found, or she told me about another lady that does the proofreading. So
mm,
it was $100 uh, when she got it, and it was $100 when she sent it back. So I sent her the 100, which was a real stretch for me. I was just a waitress at the time, and so then she had messaged me and said, well, after reading your manuscript, she goes, the rest is forgiven. Don't worry about it. So
oh,
it was God all the way. I
yeah,
got, I didn't know what I was doing, but I know it was, the Holy Spirit will lead you into all truth. So, I mean, I designed my own cover,
I
and
love it. I love it.
yeah, and I put, I just kept adding some butterflies, because as I put on the back, that's like salvation. You know, caterpillar goes into a womb, or goes into the just going across the ground wherever, and he goes into this cocoon that he weaves, and he's in there in the dark, all alone, and it it's called metamorphosis. So it changes him in the dark, all by himself, and he emerges as a beautiful, one of a kind butterfly. And that's what I think, and that's what I felt when I got saved, because no one ever noticed me before. No one wanted to know my story. Not even my family knew for a long time. Um, but it's just beautiful. When I see butterflies, I think, oh, they're free, and I want all these girls to know freedom, because, I think the veterans coined it when they said freedom isn't free. I use that with the girls, because you know I know a lot. It's cost their lives, but I know several that have made it and have started their own organizations and things. So you know, it's just can't give up. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So I would. Oh, by the way, I mean, God would get me up like 3 in the morning and just say it's time, and I'd go sit in a chair, and I'm telling you, my pen never left the paper. He would
Oh,
just give it to me, and and I would just write for an hour or two, and then I'd maybe a couple of days later he'd do the same, and I mean, it just flowed out of me. So I knew he would take care of it all. And but it was funny, because when you write your own book, then you have to order your own book.
yeah.
So I bought, I don't know how many they were, probably 100 or something. And that was a big thing for me to do. But I bought it. But when I opened it up and saw how little thin they were, I'm like, oh, and I just cried, because the manuscript, it looked like it was like inch and a half, 2 inches thick.
Yeah.
And I said, "Why, Lord?" And it was so sweet. I felt him say, Well, you know how restless you are, and the girls are the same way. We have PTSD. We have complex PTSD. Actually, I'm still on medication for it. But so he said, "Do you think they would, if that book was twice or four times that thick? How long do you think it would take them to read it? They wouldn't even finish it.
Yeah,
So you can read my book in a day or two. I mean, it's got like 80, 90 pages or something. But
yeah,
say that prayer in the back. That's the most important thing."
absolutely. Well, Jeanette, we're so grateful for you to speak out and speak up and share the hard times and how you've come out on the other side and being a light or a voice for those that feel like they have none, or if they have one and want to share it, you're there to listen and you're there to be with them and help in any way you can. Is there anything we missed that you wanted to share uh, to our viewers and listeners before we close out?
Just if anyone ever needs somebody to come and teach human trafficking 101, I'd be happy to speak because you can't fix something unless you know it's broken. And
That's right.
most people still think, oh, yeah, that's over in Thailand or India. And it's like, no, no, no. Ohio is actually number 7 in the whole United States. We
Is it
were number
really?
we were number 4 for gosh, probably 20 some years. And now we went to number 7 because they have grades for every state that, a long list of things, you know.
Uh,
But yeah, if people would just even spread what they've heard today, because I mean, there's grandmas that are raising their grandchildren, or if you might have nieces and nephews, so or raising daughters,
mhm.
so you just cannot be too careful because every 30 seconds someone is being trafficked.
Is that right? Oh my gosh.
Every 30 seconds, and they have more beds for animals, like the dogs, the suites and all that. You can board
Yeah.
it, whatever. They have more beds for dogs than they do trafficking victims.
Ugh.
Which I'm happy. I love animals, but
Yeah.
like people just don't want to admit it. I think because then they'd have to do something, you know.
Yeah.
But it I don't know if it would be appropriate or not, or if it would it be possible I could say a quick prayer over you. I mean, I'm
I
not
was gonna say, yeah, if you want to do a prayer, go for it, please.
absolutely. Lord God, I thank you for this time. I thank you for Voices for Voices, their TV show and their podcast. I thank you for Justin. And I'm asking you to bless, to explode his TV show and his podcast and give him more sponsors. Let him just reach to the sky, Lord, because we need to get word out about this and all the other people that he has come on and speak. There's so many areas of life and so many things that are happening and so many things that are hidden. It all has to be brought to the light. And for anyone listening, I pray that this has encouraged you in this, even in the slightest way. I hope it has opened up your eyes. I hope you will spread the word, and I hope you will never give up. Men, women, girls or boys, you have to be safe in this day and time because it's getting worse and worse. So I thank you for this time, and I ask you to bless and protect Justin, his wife, his children, his ministry, because it's a ministry he's got. And I pray that more and more people would just come on board and support him. It can go, I know it's worldwide, but it can really explode. And I'm praying for that. So just bless and protect him and his family and their health and their finances, their homes, their vehicles. Everything that they do is connected to their lives and their children. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. Oh, uh, thank you, Jeanette, so much.
You're welcome.
Well, this won't be the last of our connections, or and I'd love to have you on the show again in the future and share more. Uh,
Sure.
and just want to say thank you for picking up the phone, checking your face. I mean, because without that, then we would never would have connected, and very grateful to be able to reach out. And then when I heard back from you, it was a good time, good feeling. Good feeling that like it makes so much sense. Like we need to continue to reach out. We just never know who we're gonna touch when and who's
Right.
gonna get it shared. And uh,
Right.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, well, thank you, Jeanette Bradley, for joining us on the show. It's been a real blessing to have you on. Thank you so much for the beautiful prayer. It is so beautiful. Uh, please go and find I'm Still Standing on by Jeanette Bradley on Amazon, or her website, which is I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to share the screen, and then for our listeners, I'll just read it, and then it'll be in the transcript too as well. So that'll
Okay.
be good. Okay, so here we go. Where are we at? Here. Okay, and now share.
Yeah, because to be truthful, I don't make hardly any kind of money from Amazon. I'd prefer if they'd go and buy it on my website.
Buy on your site.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll sign it and I mean, I send it to you personally. So,
Uh, that
yeah,
means so much too. Like
and
to
that
have that.
helps. I can buy more clothes and food and keep going for these girls. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So for those that are listening, the website that you can learn about Jeanette's ministry is Second Chance Ministries, and you can also buy her book. She would prefer on off of her Second Chance Ministries website. And for those that are viewing, you should be able to see on the screen how to spell out Second Chance Ministries. For those listeners, I will spell it out for you. So that we'll start with the number two, and then the letters NDCHANCE dash MINISTRIES .org, and that will take you directly to Jeanette Bradley's Second Chance Ministries site. And please go check it out. Please purchase a book for yourself, a book for a neighbor, a book for somebody in your family. Maybe give them out at a birthday or a holiday, because this is like Jeanette said, especially for those of us living in the state of Ohio, that we're number seven in the country when it comes to human trafficking. And that's, I know it's unacceptable to Jeanette. I know it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to me as well, to know that there's more states that have less human trafficking than the state that I and Jeanette live in. So thank you so much, Jeanette.
You're welcome.
This won't be the last that we'll hear and see of her. Please, again, if you can, give us a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, share, reshare, repost, uh,
Yes. Yes.
and that will greatly help us reach more people, help more people, uh, share Jeanette's ministry, what she has gone throughout her life, and where she's at now, where we definitely want to pray to keep her safe all days, but especially those days and those times that she finds herself in, some of the rougher parts of town, to keep her and her ministry and all the help out and are part of it safe, because we need more people like Jeanette to go out into uh, and into a hard hard place to go to go there. So we'll guess we'll leave it there. For those watching and listening, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next episode of the show. Until then, if we can just celebrate all the voices in the world, even
Amen.
those that are hidden, that may feel invisible, that may feel like life isn't worth living, can we let's celebrate them, let them know, let
Amen.
everybody know, but especially those that are on the brink of making one of those decisions that um, there's a lot of living left to do,
Yes.
and it also comes in where let's not just be a voice for ourselves, but like Jeanette and so many more, being a voice for others as well. So it's so important to let people know that their voice matters, no matter how small or how big
Amen.
they experience or the trauma that they've been through. And there are people out there that have are able and want to listen and want to help and will understand what you have gone through. Maybe not 100%, but a good enough portion to know that someone else understands. It's not somebody that just has those book smarts. It's somebody that has that lived experience. So we'll cut the show off at this point, and we'll see you next time. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.